But that intimacy of mutual embarrassment, in which each feels that the other is feeling something, having once existed, its effect is not to be done away with. I deeply regret those situations that have blemished the image of the University of Oklahoma, and I hope that I can rectify the embarrassment I have brought the university. You can imagine my embarrassment when I killed the wrong guy. I mean, I haven't been around very long. I can't expect everyone to have seen The House Bunny. Oh God, I am having such waves of internal embarrassment, which now I'm admitting on a tape recorder. This is so one of the things I should keep in my head. It was funny to run into girls I knew after the movie came out because they would say, "I saw you on Magic Mike," but there was this look of embarrassment. It was very cute. I used to be a discipline problem, which caused me embarrassment until I realized that being a discipline problem in a racist society is sometimes an honor. I know you are going to be embarrassed. We're all embarrassed by it, but to hide the embarrassment, silence has never protected women or helped them. We need to talk about it more with our, whoever, our friends, our family. It's an embarrassment that we don't have a broad enough consensus among political leaders that true reform should take place. I could count the members of Congress on one hand that took these issues seriously. For some reason, I was born without a sense of embarrassment or shame. Have you ever gotten the feeling that you aren't completely embarrassed yet, but you glimpse tomorrow's embarrassment? One never comes into embarrassment, if one is ready to balance. To ask oneself never in embarrassment, what have you in these decades made? Well, I mean, you have an emotion, you want to express it. You don't just look in the camera and do it. You want to hide from the embarrassment of your brother saying you're not allowed to come into my town. Films are big hits when they touch a lot of people. Things are not funny in a vacuum, they're funny because we respond to some personal dislocation, some embarrassment, some humiliation, some pain we've suffered, or some desire we have. Right now, my daughter's just rolling her eyes at everything I do. I'm just an embarrassment. Irregular contact with doctors means many men fail to receive any preventive care for potentially life-threatening conditions. In addition, when men do seek care, embarrassment can often prevent them from openly discussing health concerns with their physicians. The band broke up because I couldn't bear Rotten anymore because he was an embarrassment with his silly hats and his, shabby, dirty, nasty-looking appearance. So popular is the naval service. The only embarrassment is that men volunteer so rapidly we have to work overtime to give them hardy, adequate housing and proper training. I understand the worries of many, not only here in this auditorium and some have already written to me to say that technical progress has lowered the threshold that stops people from helping themselves to protected works without the slightest embarrassment. The reason to retire is to try to avoid embarrassment. You ought to do it before people are dropping big hints. You want to be the first to come up with the idea. You don't want to wait until you trip and fall off the stage. Writing in other voices is almost Japanese in the sense that there's a certain formality there which allows me to sidestep the embarrassment of directly expressing to complete strangers the most intimate details of my life. There isn't anybody out there who doesn't have a mental health issue, whether it's depression, anxiety, or how to cope with relationships. Having OCD is not an embarrassment anymore, for me. Just know that there is help and your life could be better if you go out and seek the help. I'm romantic to the point of embarrassment. The land of embarrassment and breakfast. Most things in life are moments of pleasure and a lifetime of embarrassment. Photography is a moment of embarrassment and a lifetime of pleasure. The rate at which a person can mature is directly proportional to the embarrassment he can tolerate. It's an embarrassment of riches because you have directors who don't better. You end up with so much stuff going on the screen that you don't know where to look, and that's what I consider self-indulgent. The secret of how to live without resentment or embarrassment in a world in which I was different from everyone else, was to be indifferent to that difference. Literature is my utopia. Here I am not disenfranchised. No barrier of the senses shuts me out from the sweet, gracious discourses of my book friends. They talk to me without embarrassment or awkwardness. I won't say there aren't any Harvard graduates who have never asserted a superior attitude, but they have done so to our great embarrassment and in no way represent the Harvard I know. All I can say is Mike Lee is an embarrassment to the state of Utah. He's been a tremendous embarrassment to our family, to our state, to our country to have him as a U.S. Senator. When I think back to my childhood, it's with a mixture of amusement and embarrassment. I was always forgetting things. My mum called me scatty because I could never sit still. But there was no sense I was suffering from a medical condition as such. I like to do things that are publicly embarrassing, to feel the embarrassment touch me and sink into me and then be gone. I like getting on elevators and singing too loudly in that small space. The feeling you feel is almost like a vapor, the discomfort and the wishing that it would end that comes around you. One would think that in writing about literary men and matters there would be no difficulty in finding a title for one's essay, or that any embarrassment which might arise would be from excess of material. I find this, however, far from being the case. I could write a thesis on the physiology of vision, but I had no way to look through the fabric of confabulation spun by a man with severe lung disease who was prescribed home oxygen, but gave a false address out of embarrassment because he had no home. One of the most frightening things about your true nerd, for May people, is not that he's socially inept, because everybody's been there, but rather his complete lack of embarrassment about it. Awkward is a ubiquitous teen word to denote socially unsanctioned behavior. It usually implies first or second-hand embarrassment when you or a friend step outside the rules. Awkward doesn't sound overtly judgmental or negative, it's deliberately vague. Embarrassment is where growth happens. I think we always view people who make us feel uncomfortable and appear to intrude on our middle-class cozy space, we view them with, if not hostility, at least suspicion, discomfort, embarrassment. Most photographers would feel a certain embarrassment in admitting publicly that they carried within them a sense of wonder, yet without it they would not produce the work they do, whatever their particular field. I was an embarrassment to the department when they did research assessment exercises. A message would go round the department, please give a list of your recent publications. And I would send back a statement, none. I don't really get embarrassed because my whole life has been one big embarrassment. A simple compliment goes a really long way, for a guy to just come over and say, you have great hair, or, I really like your dress, and then just smile and walk away. That's a great move, because he's sort of putting himself out there by doing that, but it won't lead to any embarrassment if the girl isn't interested. Asteroids have us in our sight. The dinosaurs didn't have a space program, so they're not here to talk about this problem. We are, and we have the power to do something about it. I don't want to be the embarrassment of the galaxy, to have had the power to deflect an asteroid, and then not, and end up going extinct. When an acquaintance goes by I often step back from my window, not so much to spare him the effort of acknowledging me as to spare myself the embarrassment of seeing that he has not done so. All parents are an embarrassment to their kids. Often, grandparents are the relief. Kids don't have to resist you. I became obsessed with making more and more tiny things. I think I was trying to find a way of compensating for my embarrassment at having learning difficulties. People had made me feel small, so I wanted to show them how significant small could be. To my embarrassment I was born in bed with a lady. Laughter is binary, it either happens or it doesn't. As each joke arrives in the course of a film, the cavernous space of the theater is either filled with joy and laughter or with the quiet of cringing embarrassment. Every time you step to the plate to make a joke, you're going to experience one or the other. I am the daughter of a Chicana and Anglo. I think most days I am an embarrassment to both groups. I sometimes hate the white in me so viciously that I long to forget the commitment my skin has imposed upon my life. But I learned that there's a certain character that can be built from embarrassing yourself endlessly. If you can sit happy with embarrassment, there's not much else that can really get to you. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.